let's talk about the Houston ecosystem. Let's tie it back, to the Start Houston days and where Houston's at now in terms of technology startups, because, as you're aware, there's a ton of energy tech startups, right? Not just in oil and gas, but even if you go down the road, now we've got the youngest billionaire in Texas and Thomas Healy at Hyliion with his SPAC last week. And so you're seeing a lot of movement in the energy tech space. But in Houston, there's still a lot of dislocations in the ecosystem, right? One, the early stage capital is an issue. We've always had this problem. You kind of hit the nail on the head earlier where Start Houston was really successful because you guys were genuine and authentic and you were founders yourself. You weren't a VC shop. You weren't one of the corporates. And that doesn't really exist anymore in Houston. I think that's why we've been successful at Digital Wildcatters, because we come from the same angle. But what does a city really need to become a tech hub? In your opinion,
how do we beat Austin? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, how do we beat Austin?
Yeah. I think that we are better positioned now than we've ever been. And I am so pumped for Houston. I mean, I've been pumped for Houston since the very beginning because I kind of see that industrial base that is so behind and has so much room to grow, right? So one of the ways that we can be the best is if we focus on what's around us. When we started Chai One, we looked around, we said there's 27 Fortune 500s in Houston. We don't have to go to Austin. We don't have to go to Dallas. Mm-hmm. It's right here, right? And so many times entrepreneurs look elsewhere when the customer's in their backyard.
Yeah.
I was just talking this morning to a VC that invested in Go Expedia.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good example, right? They're taking on DNow. DNow, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently 40% of the deliveries show up on time. 60% don't.
Yeah.
It's like ordering your food from Uber Eats and not getting it until tomorrow.
It may come, it may not.
Right. So, they come in and they say, this is kind of silly. We just, make this thing better. When you order, I promise when it'll get delivered, and it gets delivered.
Yeah.
Right?
And Go Speedy's killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're crushing
it. And so opportunities like that are all around us. Right? It's that the entrepreneurs in Houston sometimes don't look at just these common, dislocations.
Yeah.
They look at much sexier, options, something to do with data science, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's sexy, right? But unless you're solving a problem for somebody every single day, as opposed to hunting for needle in the haystack, it's going to be very difficult to start and build a company.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I'm pumped about Houston. I have been for a while now. And I think that the future is bright for Houston because there's so much opportunity here. And it's funny because I've talked shit to some founders, some oil and gas tech founders that are based in Austin or DFW, and they're driving down to Houston every week for client meetings. I'm like, yeah, why are you not based in Houston? All the opportunities here. But you're chasing a dream, being in Austin or DFW, or, you're kind of playing to that startup Silicon Valley style mentality. But there's so much opportunity here, and there's so many smart people too. You brought it up earlier. You guys kind of use Start Houston as your funnel to bring these really smart people in and then build up a team. And then you have guys like doing the VR. There's so much smart technical talent here. And the clients are here as well. So there's a lot of opportunity that comes from that. And I think that all it's lacking now is some more of the community aspect.
I think Houston Exponential is helping solve some of that as a governing body.
Yep.
So just being on the board of that and being able to see not just the academics from Houston coming together, but also these VC groups and startup organizations from Austin and Dallas coming together is fantastic.
Yeah.
So now in this post-COVID world, almost feel like it doesn't matter if you're in Houston or Austin or Dallas because you can hire people anywhere. And it's almost better if we work together with in Austin, for example, because we do have that sister city thing going on.
Yeah.
We do have people going back. I mean, I have a house in Austin now.
Yeah.
We're going there every weekend.
Yeah.
And meeting people there. So people from Austin are coming here every weekend. Capital Factory, took over, station, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's time to kind of move to the next chapter which is we just have to evolve to the fact that Austin and Houston are like just like tied at the hip,
Yeah. Yeah. There needs to be a bridge between the two, right?
pretty much.
Yeah. And I think, I think on our phone call, we were talking about one of the things being a problem for Houston too, as far as early stage capital for startups, is that there hasn't been this liquidity waterfall where you've had the $1 billion exits and, made 100 millionaires and now they're reinvesting into, cutting angel checks into startups. But that's another thing that's really changed post-COVID as well. And, Jason Calacanis in Silicon Valley, he's got a book called Angel where he's talking about angel investing, and he has an entire chapter. And it says, do you have to be in Silicon Valley to be a successful angel investor? In the whole chapter, it's one word. It says yes. Now he's gone back and he said, I think I'm going to change the book. He's like, I've done 30 deals post-COVID remote outside of Silicon Valley. He's like, I think times are changing.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense for a lot of early stage startups to be based in San Francisco because the cost of operating is so high.
Yep.
And so they can be distributed in cities like Houston where cost of living and talent are very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can cut checks over Zoom calls. People are starting to kind of be acclimated to it and get comfortable with it. So I think that we're seeing a lot of changes, and I think it's going to benefit Houston and Austin and Texas as a whole moving forward in the future.
Yeah, and it's even more so important now because there's something of a reverse brain drain that's starting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because companies like Apple and Amazon and Google and others have realized the same thing. They don't have to have people in Seattle or in San Francisco, right? So they are able to hire people here at twice what somebody would get paid here,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be half of what they would get paid in San Francisco. So everybody's happy, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But the person that loses are small businesses like ours,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
our people can end up at those shops.
Yeah.
Never mind that you're going to be one out of a million, so-and-so, people there, but that's a major risk to
Mm-hmm.
small communities that are growing, fledgling, like in Houston, where you could end up with a lot of your talent ending up back with those big companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. 2020, anything can happen. So we'll see how it all plays out. But